Welcome to Comic Chop News, and today we'll be doing the next movie in the Scream series. Gonna be Scream 3. So, as I mentioned last review, it's the law of diminishing returns very much with these sequels, and boy, this one was a chore. Oh boy. It's very odd when you can be bored during a slasher movie, and I was during this. One of the big things during this movie, Kevin Williamson was so busy, he had trouble with the script. Julie Plec, his assistant, ended up coming in and writing. Julie Plec eventually went on to, I believe she was the showrunner or writer for the Vampire Diaries. Wes Craven was doing a bunch of different things. The weird thing I can say is this movie focused more on Dewey and Gale more than it did on Sidney. Sidney felt like she was only really in this for about a quarter of the movie. Movie starts out with Cotton Weary, Liev Schreiber, getting a call. It's a girl talking to him, and he's got his girlfriend on the other line. He is now a talk show host on a show called 100% Cotton, which I love the title of that show way too much, and it's just corny and fantastic. So he's kind of playing the field. He hangs up with his girlfriend, starts on this conversation, and all of a sudden it switches to Roger Jackson's voice, Ghostface, and saying that he's looking at his girlfriend now. He runs to the house, and all of a sudden, his girlfriend gets out of the shower, and she's hearing Cotton's voice. It ends up getting her killed. Turns out Ghostface now has a voice changer that can change it to just about anybody. Completely 100% unbelievable, but okay, we'll go with that. So Cotton comes home, and then Ghostface is using her voice, and then he's killed, and then the news starts. We go on to Gale Weathers is now on like an Entertainment Tonight kind of show. She had eventually gotten kind of that Diane Sawyer 60 Minutes job. So I think they call it 60 Minutes 2 or something. She did not do well on it, ended up moving on to this entertainment show. Turns out Cotton Weary was doing a guest appearance on Stab 3, which, of course, is just the farcical thing that, just art imitating life. And now Sidney seeing the news, Gale heads to where they're filming, where she then sees the cast of it with, I believe it's Parker Posey playing their version of Gale Weathers, a young, attractive male playing Dewey. The Brandy is played by an African-American male. I cannot remember the name of the character. Also, we have the Sidney, played by Emily Mortimer. And Dewey is there as an advisor. Him and Gale have been feuding. They broke up since the last movie. Lance Henriksen is the scumbag director. Sidney is having troubling dreams about her mother in like an Anakin Skywalker type of bad dream, where the mother's walking to the house and then Ghostface appears. She is now also a crisis line for women operator. And the murders start up, and they start killing cast members. Jenny McCarthy is killed fairly early on. Her acting is about as good as you imagine it would be. And more things start. Patrick Dempsey from Loverboy, some other 80s movies, is the cop. This is like right after I think he got Grey's Anatomy. And this movie's bad. It is just bad. It's really hard to find redeeming qualities. But we find out her mother had this whole Sidney's mother had this whole second life where she was an aspiring actress, and Lance Henriksen was having these parties where basically it became Pound Town to get roles in the movies. We meet Roman, who is the writer and director of Stab 3. And then, we get our normal, we got to set up the red herrings for the killers. Unfortunately, none of the people who are red herrings as the killers are interesting. Not a fucking one of them. And that is part of the problem of this movie. There is nothing to hold on to. I believe they, in the Still Screaming documentary, they said basically this movie is a Scooby-Doo movie. You hear more people talking about Courteney Cox's hair and how bad it looked in this movie than you do actually people talking about this movie. That's how bad this movie is. To have a slasher movie be this boring, and then have your main survivor girl barely starring in this movie, it feels like she was even uninterested with what she was doing. Gale and Dewey start to make up. We eventually finally find out the Ghostface motive. Turns out it's been Roman this whole time. He found out that Maureen Prescott, a.k.a. Raina, it's not even worth talking about her old name. Anyway, she was his kid that she gave up. And then she goes on and starts a whole new life as Maureen Prescott, or Evans as they call it. Anyway, so he went to the house and she once again kind of said, get out, don't. So he filmed all her liaisons with all these different men. And he showed Billy Loomis the video of his dad visiting her and basically got others to do his dirty work. So he's been the mastermind this whole time of all the murders.
Cotton was one thing. Everybody knew about that. But Billy's father, that was the key. Your boyfriend didn't like seeing his daddy in my film too much. He didn't like it at all. Once I supplied the motivation, all the kid needed was a few pointers. Have a partner to sell out in case you get caught, find someone to frame. It was like he was making a movie.
That started back then and gave him the idea of getting, a Stu Macher to be with him. Also, another ridiculous thing from this movie is Heather Matarazzo plays Randy's sister we've never heard of and shows them a video of what a trilogy movie is. It's like they're like, oh, you know what? We probably messed up getting rid of Randy. Fuck it, let's put him in a video and have him explain everything. And it's the ludicrous meta thing with this movie where nothing's clever, nothing is that funny, and when they do try to be clever, it ends up not working. This just felt like they needed to make something and just everything couldn't come together in time to get it out. One of the more clever things, though, I will say that was interesting is that Roman as Ghostface was wearing body armor, so he's getting shot in the chest constantly. And he showed Sid earlier, and when the big climax happens, he's charging after them, and Dewey's emptying a clip into him, and he still keeps going. Finally, Sid says, shoot him in the head. She shoots him he gets shot in the head and goes down like that. And then they just have this weird moment where they're at a house afterward, and they're like, hey, Sid, come in here, let's watch a movie. Credits. The fuck? It's just a horrible ending to a trilogy. There's just something just not blending with it. So if I were to give it a rating, this to me, and it fits, it's a 3 out of 10. Scream 3, 3 out of 10. Just nothing to really grab you in. I just watched it before I started filming again, and there's just nothing. It's just an empty, hollow vessel that they tried to dump something in and make a story that was ludicrous. And I think the part why I think Scream 1 works so much is that Billy and Stu were super fascinating characters. Even when you hear their motives, it's just insane enough that like the two guys that just lost their minds and one is just kind of the flunky. I really hated Debbie Salt in the last one, Mrs. Loomis, but this was even more ludicrous. But those are my thoughts on this movie. I don't even want to ever stream it again. Like I regret watching it. I had put it out of my head. I remember being disappointed, but now I remember, like, I know it's bad because I started picking up my phone and then kind of checking my email, checking my YouTube views, just terrible, terrible stuff. Yeah, guys, just avoid this fucking movie. I mean, honestly, it's terrible. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I think this lessens the entire Scream series for me just because it exists. And that is saying something. So with that being said, thank you. Post your thoughts below in the comments. And tell me why I might be wrong about hating this movie, because hate might be a strong word, but disliking strongly. Share, subscribe, like. Take care, guys, and keep chopping.